What's up everyone, Sean here, and welcome to my first top 10 series. And this is going to be a video where you just see random gameplay in the background while I'm just talking about just what I love and ranking them 1 through 10. And in these kinds of videos, I'm just going to just lay down the trivia of each thing, and I'll input my own personal opinion, and that's pretty much what there is to it when it comes to these videos. And of course, I'll also throw in some honorable mentions, and there might be a lot of them in the honorable mentions. But I'm just gonna state their names. I'm not gonna go over or whatever. I might maybe make another video about it, but these honorable mentions, nonetheless, will just have their names mentioned. So thank you guys for tuning in. Let's have some fucking fun. So this is top 10 anime and manga series in my personal experience. So yeah, so little disclaimer, this is just all opinion, so try not to bag me as much as possible. I know there's always conflicting opinions and stuff like that when it comes to what anime and manga is best for them, and why is it better than one or the other, and all that stuff. And it's just typical conflicting interests and stuff like that. But anyways, it's just opinions. Yeah. So to kick this series off, for number 10 of anime / manga series is Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters, and this is created by Kazuki Takahashi. The manga series has started and or serialized in Shonen Jump from September 1996 through March 2004, with 343 chapters in 38 volumes. About 28 million copies have been sold or more. I couldn't find any reliable resources when I was researching this, but nonetheless, this is probably the closest number I can find for Yu-Gi-Oh! But anyways, during the time, it inspired one of the most played trading card games in the world, which goes by the same name. In 2009, it was named the top-selling trade card. In 2009, it was named the top-selling trading card game in the world by Guinness World Records, with over 22 billion cards sold worldwide. It's just crazy when you think about it. It's just, you never really think about it until you start actually researching of how many of these cards have actually sold in the world. And imagine just 22 billion. That is nuts. That is such a huge number. And imagine all those cards in front of you. It would be just insane. Anyways, so when it comes to the anime, there's actually two kinds of them. The first one was produced by Toei Animation, and that aired from April 1998 through October 1998 with 27 episodes, and it loosely based off from the first 7 volumes of the manga. This is often referred as the first series, or season 0, by fans. The more popular second adaptation is the one we know and love, especially with the one by A4Kids Entertainment. But anyways, the original Japanese version aired from April 2000 to September 2004 with 224 episodes, and it was produced by Nihon AD Systems and Gallop. Man, Yu-Gi-Oh! I mean, it takes me so far back when I was first introduced with the English dub. As I said before, by 4Kids, and it was absolutely cheesy as hell. It was something you couldn't take seriously, but it was just awesome the way they pulled it off, some way and somehow, right? I mean, now that I look at when I look at it now, or when I looked at it recently, it was absolutely just like, how did I even take this seriously? But somehow I still consider it as like one of the things I considered as gold, anime, English dub gold, it's just absolute good cheese. And especially how they like handle the names of the characters, such as Joey and Tristan and Taya particularly, and then and there's like a whole bunch of names that have been changed as well. and just for the sake of not alienating English speaking audiences, especially Americans. But now we're in a time where we just don't really care about that, and we want the original Japanese names, and we want to learn more about Japanese culture, and especially when it comes from anime. Anime is a way for people to really pull into the Japanese culture. And so with that, people would just want everything original as possible, just as long as the voices are, English. Sometimes subtitles just bother the hell out of people, and they just want to watch something. So as long as the content is there, originally untouched, and the story is well kept, the people would love it, and they would love this culture, this interest, this hobby much more. But anyways, Yu-Gi-Oh is one of that. It was, despite the name changes, it really stamped this anime culture into our American lifestyle, like especially kids in my generation. When we were kids, we watched the anime, and then the cards came out, and we were just all over it. Yu-Gi-Oh is just one of the staples when it comes to English dubbed anime, and it was one of, and then definitely was one of those animes to really draw people in, including Pokemon, of course, but be sure to talk about that later. And for me, I personally really liked the first season of Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters, and especially when they are in that tournament held by Pegasus. It really just drew in people, and it was relatively simple in a way, but at the same time, it wasn't too simple, with the whole Millennium Puzzle and Millennium Eye thing, and the Millennium Items, and which came to play later on. But at the same time, it was enjoyable. The story was just simple enough to take in, but at the same time, it's not redundant. It's not boring, and it had that cheese to it. So that's why it kept us watching it. And especially the English voice for Yugi. And when he turned into Dark Yugi, and the way he delivers his lines was just so memorable. I can just imagine it right now how exactly it sounds, and especially the first episode where he defeats Kaiba with Exodia, and he brought out the 5 pieces, the 5 cards to assemble Exodia, and Exodia just blasts the shit out of the 3 blue eyes white dragons, and he automatically wins. And Yu-Gi-Oh, Yugi, Dark Yugi, said those famous words before that attack. Obliterate. It was just awesome. It was such a great first episode that really was just how people were drew in and just stuck on that series to the very end. Yeah, so it was just overall really awesome. Card monsters coming to life with technology is just really, really cool, and it's just one of those animes you have to watch, especially if you're a guy. And I actually know some girls that actually really liked Yugi and thought that Dark Yugi was hot, and I was like, wait, what? So and of course, and Yugi had the crazy hair, and a lot of the characters had really crazy hairs. I mean, that was really one of the signatures of the art style by Kazuki Takahashi. And with the dark lines and the line art for it is just pretty damn sick. And the manga was also drawn pretty well. It had a unique style to it, and especially with how the eyes were drawn and designed, and again, the hair is just, it has to be like, it was pretty much a law that you needed to have crazy styled hair to be a major character, So yeah, that's Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters for you. So moving on to number 9, and that would be Sword Art Online, or SAO for short. Reki Kawahara, and illustrated by Abek. The light novel series started from October 2012, and it's still ongoing currently. The first volume was supposed to be this entry for the Dengeki Novel Prize, which is kind of like one of the big things in when they're publishing light novels. It's one of those things, kind of like a Nobel Peace Prize, if you will, with scientists. He tried to do that, but he framed himself from doing that because it exceeded the page limit from the rules. So instead, he published it as a web novel under the pseudonym Fumio Kunori. He is indeed the same writer from the Excel World series, which that was entered for that same award, and it earned it. SAO was a top-selling light novel series in 2012. The anime aired from July 2012 to December 2012 with 25 episodes. However, there's going to be a sequel or second season, SAO 2 or Sword Art Online 2, and it is confirmed to be aired sometime this year, 2014. Now, Sword Art Online is one of the, of course, the newer anime series that I've picked up, and I really, really liked it. First off, it's kind of like dot hack, where it involves with a video game, and this one person is trapped in for some reason, I forgot. So in Sword Art Online, you have a whole mass of people playing this game, but they found out that Sword Art Online is kind of like this experiment by the creator. I believe his name was Akihiro, and it was a very rather dangerous experiment because if you die in the game, you die in real life. And the thing is that if anyone tries to pull the plug, anyone from outside the world, into the in the real world, such as your parents, if your parents pull the plug on you, you're dead, because this chip in the device that they use to to implement virtual reality, in order to play the game, would fry their brains pretty much, and they would die that way. So it was quite the plot. It is kind of like dot hack, but on a much bigger scale, because everyone is trapped, not just one person. And the reason why SAO really worked was because of the characters, the way these characters developed. Well, particularly Kirito and Asuna. It's really about those two characters. I mean, there are plenty of other major characters, but they really just stay in for like one episode at a time or whatever, and they just kind of just in and out, if you will. But yeah, it's mainly about Kirito and Asuna and how their relationship really grew, and how they themselves grew as people. And because of their personalities, their initial personalities, become more developed, and they change over time as they play the game more, and they become much more mature, and they grow up, and their relationship really becomes strong. And it really becomes believable, and you're really grown and just drawn into these characters, so you're there to care for them. And anything that happens to them, you get quite emotional about it. It's that good. It's very, very, very good. And it's very popular these recent years for a reason. And a lot of people at Anime Expo were cosplaying as these characters for a very good reason, and it's because of the way how this story carried out in SAO. So it's kind of like World of Warcraft, and I guess Elder Scrolls Online, or just like these massive multiplayer online things where you see a lot of people fight this one massive boss. It's you really get that feeling, that you can connect to this anime, because, well, especially for gamers, who play RPGs. And yeah, it's just one of the animes that you should watch if you're a RPG player. It really implements the whole RPG theme around it. And Sword Art Online involves with two games. First, it was Sword Art Online, the same name for the anime, and the second half is, I believe, was called, I forgot, man. It's like Affelheim or something like that. It involves with like fairies and stuff like that, and it's a different game after Sword Art Online was beaten, and that acted as the second half of the anime, and that kind of took it down a bit because of, well, it brought it back to this, typical damsel in distress kind of plot, because Asuna was trapped after the events of SAO, and she went from this like powerful, this dominant female character to this damsel in distress. It kind of just it reduced her character in a way. So a lot of people didn't like the second half, and it just wasn't the same. And it wasn't the way the game was designed. It was just the way the story was carried out from there. It was just kind of disappointing that it ended after that, in 25 episodes. And I know that Sword Art Online is supposed to be much more longer than that because there's more sagas to it. There's more seasons or chapters or volumes to it. So there's more games to it. So there's one called Gun Gale Online, and there's another one I believe involves with the underworld or whatever. But overall, this is a really cool anime to watch, and especially if you're an RPG gamer, this is something you really need to see. And if you love romance, if you love action, there's also really good humor in it too. So if you love all that, this is one of the animes that have a good balance of those, and it's a really good anime to watch. It's a really good anime for these recent years. All right, so number 8 is Full Metal Alchemist, and particularly I really liked Brotherhood. But let's get more into the whole series. So Full Metal is created by Hiromu Arakawa, and the manga series was first serialized in August 2001, and it ended in June 2010, and it has 108 chapters in 27 volumes under Square Enix. It has become one of Square Enix's best series or best assets, along with Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest. And as of 2013, the manga has sold over 61 million copies worldwide. 13 million copies have been sold outside of Japan. And the thing is that every volume has sold over 1 million each in Japan. That's a pretty good accomplishment if you ask me. Anyways, so when it comes to the anime, there's 2 iterations. So the first anime is just called Full Metal Alchemist, and that aired from October 2003 to October 2004 with 51 episodes. Then came the remake, which is called Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, and that aired from April 2009 to July 2010 with 64 episodes. And Brotherhood is supposed to be much more closer to the manga storyline. And the first iteration was kind of like is a little more loose when it comes to the manga storyline. They kind of just drifted off from after a certain point, and they really just implemented their own elements into the anime storyline. And it's different. It's not bad. It's just kind of just weird that they made this move, but at the same time, it's different, and it makes it a little more interesting to watch, because that's kind of saying, oh, this is our take of Full Metal Alchemist. And after that, they actually spawned a movie, and that's kind of where it left off from there. And in the movie, it just wraps up the story, and it's kind of quite the ending, if you ask me. Go watch the movie, and I forgot the title of the movie. I'm sorry. But you'll totally know what I'm talking about. Just look it up on Google, and yeah, you'll definitely find it. The design, the way the characters are animated, it was very cool to watch, and I really like the overall, I really like the impression that it gave me from the first anime. Now, when it comes to Brotherhood, this one is a lot. This is just amped up, because this is more closer to the manga storyline, so I'm able to enjoy the original storyline in anime form. And of course, the animation is just awesome as always. It's so good to watch, and the character design is slightly changed, but I would say, in my opinion, it has improved. And the way they handle the colors and all that stuff, it really just made it a much more easier experience, in my opinion. And overall, it really was cool, especially in the end, where they finally beat Father, and and Edward and Al were able to get their bodies back, and they were able to live their lives and have a family and all that stuff. And it was a pretty satisfying ending. So overall, I really like Brotherhood. I mean, the first one was not, I mean, it's likable, but I really like Brotherhood a lot better because of that. It's much more satisfying, and it just ties it up so much better in the end. So for me, I really enjoyed Brotherhood. And I remember watching the English dub of both iterations, and I really like it. Vic Mignaga really did a good number on Edward's voice. It really came out great. It was pretty believable, especially the comical moments. It really came out great, and he was able to get the character right, especially with how Japanese voices and English voices are handled. This is pretty good for a English dubbing, and that this is one of the animes that I really like in English dub. So that's Full Metal Alchemist, both the first anime and Brotherhood, for number 8. So number 7, this is going to be probably a memorable one. It's Digimon Adventure and 02, which is the sequel, and it's pretty much the first and second seasons of Digimon, the anime. And the anime is based off the virtual pet toys, and they began in 1997 by Bandai. And these suckers, sold like Tamagotchi, which is how it's really supposed to be pronounced. But anyways, the anime actually started after a little short movie, and it actually had a pretty big production for what it was. It's more of a short film, or a short animated film, and it acted as a pilot for this TV series, and that film was released in 1999, and the anime was actually released the next day, pretty much, and it's still actually ongoing, with a lot of seasons. And although it's not as strong as Pokemon, it's still popular in Japan nonetheless. Unfortunately, in the US, it's not so much. They've been trying to get audiences back into Digimon, but Pokemon is still really taking the cake, right? So of course, the anime has a total of 332 episodes. That includes the first 2 seasons and all those other seasons after that. And my personal opinion on Digimon Adventure and 02 is I really love this one. This is one of the animes that I watched along with Pokemon, and it came out sometime after Pokemon. So there was this flame war between them, and I remember this magazine from Beckett, and it brought Pokemon and Digimon together, and had artwork involving a crossover battle between Pokemon and Digimon. It was really, really awesome how these battles carried out. And even in this one, even though it's for kids, there's a little bit of romance involved, with Sora and Tai. In the sequel, Sora kind of just went 180 and showed her feelings towards Matt instead. And Matt and Tai were kind of known to be rivals towards each other in the first season, but Tai kind of just insisted on Sora being together with Matt instead of himself. It's sort of a really complicated thing, and this is in a kids anime, so yeah, this is pretty neat, I guess, in a way. But anyways, when it comes to the characters, they're all lovable. You know, you got a pretty colorful cast. You know, you got the leader figure like Tai. You know, this courageous, hero kind of type, and Matt was the cool type, and then there was Mimi, who was kind of the spoiled brat, kind of whiny, and then Sora was the tomboy, chick, kind of like a tough chick in a way. And then TK was, the kid, the little one, the young one, the little sprout, the squirt, and that had always this spunk to keep up with the team. And it was Joe, the smart one, or the older figure. He was looked at as a parental unit kind of thing, and he was kind of like the voice of reason. And he had the medical supplies, and he was kind of like he was trying to be a doctor, so naturally he's like the guy to go to when it comes to injuries and stuff like that, I guess. And there was Izzy. Izzy is one of the more memorable ones. He's the smart one when it came to technology, and he is one of the more important characters in Digimon. He was the one who hacked into the digital world and all that stuff, and he had his laptop and the yellow gloves and that short stature he had. It is just one of those memories that I can hold on to like for a very long time when it comes to anime. And the sequel, or the second season, is another one that's really fun to watch. The first cast grew up, and they kind of just drifted off to their separate ways, and we kind of get this new cast, and this time it's a smaller cast, but still they're very likable, and they're kind of similar, but at the same time a little different, so that's kind of cool in a way. And two of them actually are from the first cast, and which is the little kid who grows up, and that's TK and Kari, so they're about the same age, and they're grown up and all that good stuff. And there was a thing going on between them, like when it comes to romance, but it's never actually like implemented. Kind of disappointed, but whatever. It's a freaking shonen anime for kids. So, and overall, I really like 02 as well. It kind of really wrapped up that Digimon Adventure season. And because they all grew up to be adults in the end, and you still see their Digimon partners, but they weren't considered as Digidestined anymore, because they're not kids. Because you have to be a kid to be a Digidestined, because their hearts are pure or something like that. And I don't know. I kind of forgot the smaller details, but overall, it's just one of those animes I love in my childhood, and it'll always be in my memory, and just one of those things that when it comes to nostalgia, Digimon comes to mind. So on to number 6 in our countdown of anime and manga, and it's Shaman King, and that one's created by Hiroyuki Take, and the manga was first serialized in Shonen Jump from June 1998 to August 2004 with 32 volumes. It actually initially ended with 285 chapters, but with the newer Kanzenban reprint, it ended with 300 chapters in total. The anime aired from July 2001 to September 2002 with 64 episodes. In Japan, the manga series has sold over 26 million copies, and it has been considered one of the top ranking mangas, and it's also been ranked as one of the top 10 or whatever in many lists. Shaman King is one of the animes that not only I remember, but it influenced me in a way when it comes to me being a artist, visual artist. There was just something about Shaman King that I really liked. The whole concept of having a spirit as your partner. It's sort of like Digimon in a way, or Pokemon, but it's different in a way because it's ghosts, so you have these spirits of historical figures, well, in their world anyway, and you can have a samurai, or this Chinese warlord, or you have a fairy, or you have these nature spirits which are naturally more powerful than your normal human spirits. So kind of cool in a way. And there's all these like there various kinds of spirits, and with what they can do as shamans is, well, they can form weapons and or enhance weapons with the spirits, and they eventually become stronger, and they're able to do this thing called oversoul, which is where instead of having the souls within themselves, they put the souls into the weapons, and they essentially become more powerful that way. Before then, yeah, they do the integration where they merge the spirits within their bodies, and they take on their skills, and they're able to wield a weapon of some sort the same way the spirit does. So in a way, they're like unified and all that great stuff. And Oversoul is themselves, while their spirits is enhancing their weapon, and it's sort of a really cool concept. And the plot was really interesting. Yo Asakura, it's just this, lazy, easygoing shaman, and he just wants to become Shaman King just to live an easy life. So I think that's a pretty cool and funny way, to become the best, And I remember Anna, who is Yo's fiance, and she is very dominant. She is, strong, and she doesn't show fear so easily, especially when Hao Asakura, or Zeke Asakura in the English dub, is Yo's twin brother, and Hao is this really powerful shaman, because Hao is the original Asakura from feudal Japan, and he is able to reincarnate himself for every 500 years, and this time he reincarnates himself as Yo's twin brother. So that's why he takes on his face, and except he has longer hair. It really was really cool because and once again, these characters are awesome, and especially with Tao Ren and Horo Lyzerg. Lyzerg was one of my actually my favorite characters. And there was Ryu, or Rio in the English dub, and then there's Manta or Morty, and there's also Hao's team, this giant cast of villains. And yeah, and speaking of the villains, this cast of villains were really cool. I really liked Hao, and also the team with 3 girls, the Hanagumi, and yeah, just so many characters to really, oh my gosh, I really liked. And overall, it was just memorable to watch. I remember watching the English dub on I forgot what it was called back then. Oh yeah, Foxbox, and I think it eventually became like 4Kids and 4Kids TV or something like that. But anyways, yeah, when it was Foxbox, they had Shaman King. And the dubbing was okay. It wasn't too bad for what it was. Of course, they had to dumb it down for younger audiences, even though it was intended for teenagers. And of course, they did the name changing stuff. And that's where they changed Hao's name to Zeke, which is kind of weird because he's supposed to be Japanese, but Zeke is not Japanese. But it's kind of weird how they kept Asakura, and yet they changed Ryu's name to Rio, and kind of just have this like stereotypical Spanish accent. And Manta is Morty, but for the most part, Morty was pretty preserved in the English dub, and overall the story, the entire story was well kept. It didn't really like butcher it or anything like that, unlike One Piece. And one of the more lesser quality dubs, if you ask me. But overall, I really liked Shaman King for the story, the theme, the concept of how they fight, and especially when they had that the shaman fight, the shaman fights where they had a tournament and they had the teams of 3, and that was really cool. And I remember in the manga they ended it on a rather weird note. And that was the initial ending, with the 285 chapters, but the way it ended was really weird with how being a princess in Manta's dream or something, and then he wakes up just waiting for Yo and the others to defeat the tribe and get to Hao and eventually defeat him, but they never get there, and we never get to see that final battle. But once the Kanzenban reprints came out, they were able to fight Hao, but in the end they weren't able to defeat him. But something happens where Hao changes, and he kind of just becomes tolerant with humanity, and he essentially gives humanity a second chance to really just live out life, and hopefully don't piss him off or anything like that. So he's Shaman King, and Yo and the others just try to live life as best as possible, and they do in the end. It ended on the happier note, but in the end, none of them got to be Shaman King, so that was sort of a bummer in a way. But yeah, I mean, at least they were able to live a pretty happy life. So overall, I really like Shaman King, and it's one of the Jump mangas that you would remember if you're a Shonen Jump fan. Alright, so number 5 for this list is Kill la Kill. This is one of the newer animes that came out, and it's a TV exclusive anime, so there's no manga for it before that. And this anime is directed by Hiroyuki Imaishi and is written by Kazuki Nakashima. And these are the guys who made Gurren Lagann, which is another big hit with anime fans. Kill la Kill started on October 2013, and it's still ongoing. With how it is right now, I really love Kill la Kill. It's one of these like eye candy animes where you just want to watch it. You don't want to take your eyes off it, even for a second. And it really just looks awesome, especially for artists like me. And the characters are just over the top, and it's just so ridiculous. You are going to love it. It's one of those, like, it's very self-aware, so it just goes over the top and then some. These characters are just crazy. These battles are crazy. The concept is weird, but it's just so awesome in a way. And Kill la Kill involves with clothes, which kind of sounds weird, but hear me out. So they have these life fibers, and these life fibers are sewn into clothes, and depending on how much life fiber it has, the more life fiber it has, the more powerful these clothes become. And they act as kind of like uniforms for people, and these people become super powered. And especially, and they rate them with stars. So there's 1 star, 2 star, 3 star, and then there's 5 star, but it's still, kind of unstable, I guess. But there's the 3-star people, which belong to the Elite Four, and I love the Elite Four. They are fucking awesome. Then especially with Gamagori Ira, or Ira Gamagori, excuse me. He is so fucking awesome. He's voiced by Tetsu Inada, and the way he just shouts in every fucking scene is just ridiculous, and so ridiculous it's awesome. I love it. I love every line he says. I love the way he handles things. I love the way he works. It's so awesome. And of course the main character is pretty badass as well. She's like the tough girl, kind of type, and her design is really cool. She has that single red hair going on, and she has that really cool pupil thing going on in her eyes if you look closely. So it's one of those like really just visually pleasing animes. And there's like all these like scribble lines, and it's just crazy. You have to watch it for yourself. It's so awesome, and it's still ongoing, of course, so there's not really much to talk about other than how it's just so fucking awesome. And the way these clothes, have them transform into these mech-like, super powered figures is just so it was like, what the hell am I watching? But it's just so awesome. You just keep watching until it's over, and then you just want more from it. And it's really funny how Gamagori's uniform transforms him into like this like masochistic like thing where he's like wrapped in bandages, and then if he takes enough damage he can power up to a second form, where it's really funny how he resembles Iron Man in a way, but a much more evil Iron Man, and it's so awesome. And it's really funny how he has a gag ball implemented in the design, so this is really ridiculous. You really have to watch it for yourself. You know what I'm talking about. I highly recommend it. Please watch it. It's probably going to be one of those short and sweet animes with maybe 26 episodes, but it's definitely worth to watch, and you really definitely want more from them. Alright, we are getting close to number 1, guys, with number 4. And number 4 is going to be Pokemon, and it's created by Satoshi Tajiri, and it's based off from the video game series that we all know and love from Nintendo. And this began in February 1996, and the series has sold over 245 million units as of March 2013, and that makes it one of the best-selling franchises of all time, and it has held Guinness records. And unfortunately, it includes most photosensitive epileptic seizures caused by a TV show. And this is one of Nintendo's flagship titles, and in fact, it's only second to the Mario franchise. And the anime series began in April 1997 and is still ongoing with more than 800 episodes within 13 seasons. That is insane for an anime like this, or for a franchise like this. And especially how nowadays it's kind of just like repeats, like copy and paste, sort of. But, with Ash going to a new region, battling new gym leaders, going through adventures, and then going to this big competition, and then he loses, or at least he's one of the top, but not the actual winner. Or he wins something that's not Pokemon Master. And despite that, the beginning of the series was, how do I put this? Pokemon was the one series that began all this anime craze, pretty much, and it really popularized American audiences into anime. And I know Akira was the first anime ever to really come across to America, but Pokemon just was the anime that sucked so many people in. And if you ask your anime friends, what animes you watch, all of them will say Pokemon. It's that memorable. And it's one of these animes that pretty much started the whole monsters and battling with monsters and having the partner and friendship and then all that stuff. It started pretty much all that, and it at least popularized it. And there's Digimon and there's Shaman King and all that stuff. And yeah, this is one of my favorite video game series of all time as well, being a huge Nintendo fan. I always played Pokemon when I ever got the chance, and I remember getting the first version that came out here in America, which is Pokemon Red and Blue, and I got Pokemon Blue for myself, and I just played the hell out of it with my friends. Oh my god. And then of course the trading cards came out too, and those suckers sold a whole bunch. And the thing is that we have no fucking idea how to play the card game. And one of my friends tried, and he said that he just gave up on it because it was just so complicating with the energy cards and all that stuff, and it was crazy. But despite that, they were really cool to look at, and it was Pokemon, so they became collectibles instead. And I remember trading cards, with each other at elementary schools, and it was just, one of the staple memories that I have in my childhood. And of course, the series grew, and now we have Pokemon X and Y on the 3DS. And I actually really like the X and Y series. I believe I made a review on it earlier, or at least a first impressions video about Pokemon Y, or I mean, sorry, Pokemon X. I have Pokemon X. Shit. Trying to, man, I'm getting my stuff mixed. But anyways, I really loved how Ash and Pikachu just had this relationship, that how they bond with each other, and especially in the beginning, Pikachu hated Ash's guts, in the very first episode, and but in the end of that episode, that's where their friendship really started to grow, and they're like one of the most like strongest pairs of individuals when it comes to friendship. And like it's like if you ever have like a top 10 like best friends pairs or whatever, it's Ash and Pikachu will be up there, I guarantee that. And you don't want anything happen to neither of them, especially with Pikachu with crying his eyes out when Ash turns to stone, because of Mew and Mewtwo fighting each other, and then Ash tried to stop the fight in the first movie. And speaking of the movie, that one sold a lot of money. So in Pokemon, just really is one of the most powerful franchises Nintendo has to offer. And along with Call of Duty and all that stuff, with Activision and all that. But yeah, Pokemon is one of the series that's going to be stuck with us for a very long time, and it will continue to be stuck with us even in this day and age, in 2014. So I'm really looking forward to how Pokemon is going to be handled in the future, and I'm really liking the anime for X and Y, and especially with Serena, and then there's that romance thing going on. It's one-sided for now, but of course Ash is kind of unaware. He's been always unaware when it came to like romantic feelings and stuff like that. And it's and the funny thing is that Ash was always kind of had more attention towards Misty, and Misty had feelings for Ash. And Misty was pretty much the person Ash thought about the most when it comes to importance. And pretty much Misty's the closest thing to Ash's girlfriend, pretty much, because they both kind of had feelings for each other in a way, and unfortunately they kind of changed up Ash's character after when Misty left, where Ash is just kind of dull-sided when it comes to romance and stuff like that. So kind of unfortunate, but it's kind of for the best, because this is sort of like a shonen anime, so you have to kind of just keep it down low. But I mean, it doesn't hurt to implement romance into it. So and of course the Pokemon are so awesome, including Charizard and Blaziken and Blastoise and Dragonite, Mewtwo, and Scyther and Onyx, and there's just so many Pokemon now. I think they're at 800 right now, or maybe 700, or I don't know. Yeah, there's just so many out there, and it's just hard for people to catch up nowadays. So it's just crazy. But despite that, I really love this anime series, and going back on that epileptic seizure thing, I totally remember how I found out, and it was on a newspaper by a Japanese publisher here in California, and they bring Japanese news in English print. So that's how I found out about this episode where in Pokemon and involved with Polygon, and there's all these flashes, and it caused so many seizures on children, and all these kids were in the hospital, and it was a mess. And you think there's all these controversies in these recent years that are just so memorable and stuff like that, but at least those didn't, at least these controversies didn't cause any seizures or anything like actually medical to you. So Pokemon is just one of those like animes that is remembered because of something great and also something really bad, including that whole seizure incident. So overall, I really love Pokemon, and for the video game and the anime series, it's just one of the things I hold dear to my heart as an anime fan and a video game fan. So looking forward to what they have in the future. Alright, so we are in the top 3 of my list, and I can't wait to show you guys what I have to say about those top 3. So, for number 3, it's Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball, and Dragon Ball GT. And this is by Akira Toriyama, a very famous manga artist and writer, and he's one of the most influential artists of all time when it comes to manga. And Dragon Ball began in December 1984, and it ended on June 1995 with 519 chapters and 42 volumes in total. Dragon Ball the anime aired in February 1986 through April 1989 with 153 episodes. Dragon Ball Z aired in April 1989 through January 1996. Yeah, it started pretty much a few days after Dragon Ball ended. And the funny thing is that Dragon Ball Z is actually just the anime name for the later chapters from Dragon Ball. And Dragon Ball is just combined with all the chapters with Majin Buu in the end, and with little Goku in the very beginning, of the series. And Dragon Ball GT aired from 1996 through November 1997 with only 64 episodes. This manga franchise sold over 230 million copies worldwide, making it the second best selling manga series in history. And it's really one of the most influential series of all time, and that's pretty much a fact because it influenced One Piece, Naruto, Bleach, Fairy Tail, and Rave Master, and also Black Cat, and there's many more. But yeah, Dragon Ball Z is really, it definitely deserves to be top 3 on my list because this one is also influential to me when I'm drawing stuff, and when it comes to powers for my characters as well. It's like it winds back to Dragon Ball. I remember the first series, which is called Dragon Ball for the anime, and it was so like adventurous, and Goku as a little kid, just so memorable as a character, and he just didn't give a fuck about what was in front of him, and he just always wanted to go on an adventure and help Bulma find the 7 Dragon Balls, and grant this one wish for whatever it is. And there's also villains that go after the Dragon Ball, and those villains are really funny and like really comical. And Dragon Ball is more comical, it was more adventurous, it was lovable by much more bigger demographic. And then came Dragon Ball Z, which is just a name for the anime. When you're looking for the manga, there's no Dragon Ball Z, it's just Dragon Ball. It's all in one. Dragon Ball Z, in the anime, and the later chapters in Dragon Ball, it's much more action oriented and much more serious, and there's less comical relief. I mean, there's still some, but it's much more less. It's the whole action and fighting is much more pronounced, and all this like destruction is much more visual. And it's just in your face. There's all these huge explosions, like planets blowing up into smithereens, and including planet Vegeta, and planet Namek, and all these, and there's all this destruction on planet Earth. And that one had much more memorable, cool villains, such as there's Frieza and Cell and Majin Buu, and then of course there's the androids. And these are more memorable because they're serious, they're badasses, they're out for destruction and power. And Goku as an adult is just unbelievably powerful, and there's this whole debate with is he better than Superman, and is Superman better than Goku? And of course there's that death battle on YouTube, and Superman wins or something like that, but I don't buy it. But anyways, all the characters are so lovable and they're really cool in their own way. And especially with Goku, Vegeta, and Gohan. And then when it came to villains, my favorite is absolutely Cell. I don't know why, because well, first off, he's voiced by Norio Wakamoto in the Japanese one, which he is one of my favorite voice actors when it comes to Japanese original versions. And yeah, Cell was pretty cool. I mean, his design was unique, his voice was awesome, and his character was, he was smooth until Gohan reached Super Saiyan level 2 and just kicked his ass and he just broke down. But he wouldn't just back out, just so easily, because his nucleus survived or whatever. And then he came back as super perfect Cell, because he has the Saiyan cell. So, and Saiyans grow stronger with every injury. So, and then Cell had this huge, big-ass injury, I guess, blowing up into pieces, but the nucleus survived, so he was able to regenerate thanks to, Piccolo's cells, and so he came back so much stronger and so much more, badass, and he was able to pretty much conquer Gohan until he got help from Vegeta and then from his father as well for motivation, and he was able to blast Cell into smithereens, and including this nucleus, and he blew up. And there was also Dragon Ball Kai, which was supposedly the this like clean, this redefined, remastered HD version of Dragon Ball Z, and with the colors all cleaned out, and there's less grainy and all that, and it's formatted for HD, and the sounds all revamped, and the music is different, and the voices were redone too as well. But it only ran from the beginning of the saga, the Saiyan saga, to all the way to the Cell saga, and they canceled it because of some incident with copyrights of the music, because the composer just took melodies from or samples from other things, and yeah, that kind of caused an incident, and then they had to just drop the Kai series. Kind of unfortunate, but it was kind of for the best, because I really preferred Dragon Ball Z for what it was. It's much more authentic. The music just made it much more of a better experience and believable experience anyway. And Kai was just kind of it's sort of like a Michael Bay movie. There's all these explosions. It looks nice, but it doesn't feel right. It doesn't, implement the same kind of experience as Dragon Ball Z had. Now, I mean, sure, Kai is much more closer to the manga, so it's much more shorter, and then the episodes are much more, better when it came to pacing. And then Dragon Ball Z was very infamous for characters powering up for several episodes. But despite that, I really loved Dragon Ball Z. It's another anime that grew up. It's another anime that I grew up with along with my friends and everyone else. And it's also memorable, like Pokemon. And it's pretty much another anime where it drew in more American audiences. And it had American audiences love anime that much more. So in the end, the Dragon Ball franchise is truly one of the most influential of all time. And it helped not only it started the big three in Japan, the current big three, I mean, which is One Piece, Naruto, and Bleach. It was the English dubbed version that really helped draw in more Western audiences, and really that's how Americans really started to love anime, because of Dragon Ball Z and Pokemon. Now, when it comes to Dragon Ball GT, that one's a more or less memorable one, but the more towards the end it becomes more memorable because of Super 17, and there's Super Baby, or just Baby, and then the evil dragons, and there's Omega Shenron or whatever, and there's Super Saiyan 4 and all that stuff, and that's where it becomes memorable. But the beginning of Dragon Ball GT is kind of just boring. It's kind of just not the same. I didn't like how it looked too. Like the colors were overdone. It just wasn't really the same with Dragon Ball Z. And it makes sense because Toriyama had nothing to do with Dragon Ball GT. It was just from Toei Animation because I guess they wanted more money, so they tried to milk the franchise more. And look what happened. It just didn't turn out the same. It really tells you that Toriyama, and only Toriyama, can make the series work. Alright, we are getting that much closer with number 2. And number 2 is gonna have to be Hokuto no Ken or Fist of the North Star. This one is just one of the gold mines that you'll find in anime history. And this one's written by Bronson, or Buronson, and it's illustrated by Tetsuo Hara. This manga series began in 1983 until 1988 with 245 chapters and 27 volumes, and that sold over 100 million copies, so it makes it one of the best-selling series of all time. The anime began in 1984 all the way through 1988 with 152 episodes, including the first original Hokuto no Ken and Hokuto no Ken 2. And this franchise it can be considered as the godfather of action anime or manga because it pretty much influenced Dragon Ball Z, which that influenced One Piece, Naruto, Bleach, Fairy Tail, and many more, like I said before. It is indeed regarded as one of the most important and influential franchises in history when it comes to anime and manga. Every fan will tell you about Hokuto no Ken as being influential. Now, okay, this is definitely my second favorite series of all time when it comes to anime and manga because, man, Kenshiro is so ridiculous. It is great. He is the badass of anime and manga. He is the definition of man, of masculinity, being a man. So yeah, like Hokuto no Ken is just like pretty much the most manliest thing ever in anime. And you have the whole, Hokuto Shinken and, Nanto Seiken, and they, fight each other and, all that stuff. But Kenshiro just rips people apart, and just by poking at him, he can make people explode from the inside out, and it is just gruesome. And in the anime, they had to censor that out by, making it silhouettes, and also making the blood shiny white for some reason in some parts. But eventually, they became red. I don't know why they went with that, but that's the 80s for you, I guess. But anyways, despite that, it is 80s gold. Every anime in the 80s or the manga in the 80s kind of look like Fist of the North Star or whatever. And it's just totally it's so cool, and you just want to keep watching it because Kenshiro just walks through and just kills people, the bad guys, to save humanity. And these bad guys are just ridiculous because they mutated from the explosion. They are strong and they are superhuman. They can rip people apart, and they do that so they can survive. It's survival of the fittest. And in this post-apocalyptic world, because it was caused by a nuclear explosion, or nuclear war, I believe. But anyways, Kenshiro just walks in and just rips these people apart like they're nothing. And because of that, there are a lot of villains, and these villains are very memorable, including Shin, Salzer, I don't know how people pronounce his name, but Salzer is how I like to pronounce it. And then there's Yuta, and then there's Rao, but he's considered more of a rival than a villain anyway. But definitely in the first appearances he made, he was considered a villain. And also, there's the lesser villains that you can remember, like Jackal, Colonel, and there's Club, Spade, Diamond, and then there's Heart, and there's also Devil Rebirth, and then there's so many villains because Kenshiro just kills them all until Rao makes his appearance. So you think Kenshiro is just invincible, like walking like tank, and that cannot be stopped until Rao comes in. Rao is just this giant motherfucker that can smash people with one punch, He doesn't even have to blow people up. He can just smash people and just punch people, which is with his giant ass fist, and just crush people. And he has this badass big ass horse, and it's this black horse called Kokoro, and he just crushes people, and he doesn't even need to fight because of this big ass black horse. And and it's just a way of him saying, I don't have to touch you, you're worthless, you're just garbage to me. And yeah, this series is so badass. I highly recommend it. If you're a fan of anime, you have to watch it. It is one of the staples of anime history, and you have to watch it all the way. It is really sad too. I mean, Kenshiro is trying to retrieve his love of his life, Yuria, and and it all started because of his one of his evil brothers, Jagi, which is another memorable villain. I think he's pretty much my favorite villain. Jagi, he influenced Shin to take away Yuria because he brainwashed Shin that Ken is too weak and Yuri is gonna get killed in this era. So Shin snapped because he had feelings for her in earlier times. So he snapped and he just fucked up Kenshiro and took Yuri away, and then began how Kenshiro became this super badass because he wanted Yuria. He had this ambition. So yeah, I mean, there's so much to talk about, but yeah, I have to really cut this short because I don't want this video to go on too long. So it's overall the manliest anime of all time, and it's also started the whole energy blast gimmick and the whole power up gimmick like you see in Dragon Ball Z and also in Street Fighter and all that stuff, in my opinion. And yeah, I mean, Kenshiro just started all these Fist of the North Star started all these things that we see today in video games, in anime, manga, whatever. So Hokuto no Ken is the godfather of action, the action that we see in anime, in which that makes it epic. Therefore, that is why it is my second favorite series in anime history. But now we're gonna go into number 1. And of course, we got the honorable mentions before we reveal what's number 1. And the honorable mentions are Kinnikuman, Yu Yu Hakusho, Beyblade, Sonic X, Fairy Tail, Sailor Moon, Nichijou, Azumanga Daioh, Darker Than Black, Hellsing, and of course Hellsing Ultimate, Guilty Crown, and Attack on Titan. And number 1 of this list with anime and manga has to go to One Piece. I absolutely fucking love it, and I'm gonna tell you why. First off, it's created by Eiichiro Oda. This series was first serialized in Shonen Jump in August 1997, and the anime began in 1999, and it's still going on strong, and it's very popular in Japan. And it has over 730 chapters and 72 volumes so far, and the anime has over 620 episodes. Totally insane, if you ask me. It is ridiculous. Those numbers are huge for anime, and it sold over 345 million volumes, and it makes it the best-selling manga series in history. And that I can't imagine 345 million of these books. It is so much, and of course this is worldwide, but nonetheless it just beats everything else, and there's a reason why. One Piece, first off, is a pirate manga, and only a few pirate mangas, if you ask me, and animes. And this one's really absolutely my favorite because just the way the story is told, the characters are just implemented, and there's a lot of them are so memorable, like Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, Nami, the Straw Hats, the Straw Hat Pirates. You will love every single one of them, especially with Brook and Frankie and Robin and Chopper. Yeah, it's just so awesome. And then of course Usopp, you can't forget Usopp. He is the comical relief. And then there's the villains. I love the villains in One Piece. They are insanely badass. And of course, they're probably some way influenced by the Fist of the North Star. But anyways, I love the villains in One Piece nonetheless. They have their own characteristics. They are very memorable. And I have to say my favorite villain in One Piece is freaking Crocodile. He is maniacal. He is insane. He is sadistic. He is a genius. And he is powerful. He is the reason why he is one of the most powerful characters in One Piece. And he's just, oh my god, I just love his character. He's so sinister. He is a great villain. And of course, there's other great villains such as Arlong, Don Krieg, and then there's Buggy, who is the comical villain, and Eneru, and another comical villain, which is Foxy. And then there's Rob Lucci, and of course one of my favorites, Doflamingo. And there's just so much more. I just can't make this video any longer because there's just so much to talk about One Piece, but I love it because it's so memorable and the action is so great. I just love every battle, and one of the most memorable battles is with when he's battling Arlong, because he's battling for Nami. He's fighting for Nami's freedom, and Nami first betrayed the main cast because she needs the money to free her village, which is under Arlong's control. But Arlong, being the good villain, he just fucks Nami in the ass pretty much. Not literally, of course. He fucks her over by creating a loop in the system, which involves with money and corrupted Marines. And yeah, he and essentially she had to start all over again, and she did all that work for many years, and Arlong and Arlong just laughs it off, and Luffy just kicks his ass. In the end, of course. And you think Arlong just had the upper hand the first few minutes or whatever, but nope. Luffy just crushes him over. He is one of those characters that you do not want to piss off. He is all about power, and he has that stretching limbs and stuff like that with the devil fruits, and of course the abilities are awesome with the devil fruits, and it gives these fruits give these really strange but cool powers, and they're really kind of creative in a way, and they have that one weak. All of them had that one weakness where you can't go into the water, otherwise you're paralyzed and you can't swim. So you're cursed by the sea. So, and it's kind of ironic because it's all about pirates and the water and the sea and all these adventures in the sea. But yeah, and then you think One Piece is just all about pirates and adventure and stuff like that, but it's actually kind of complicated too, because there's corruption involved with the world government, and there's authoritative power, corruption, and then the whole thing with criminal underground, and it's just so much more. There's just a lot more going on than meets the eye. For a shonen series, I really love One Piece because it has a lot of variety, unlike Naruto or Bleach. They're all kind of just the same to me when it comes to characters, especially with the villains. And the Gote 13 and whatever, they kind of all the same to me. And same with Naruto's characters, they're all ninjas. And you're saying, yeah, of course it's a series with ninjas, but One Piece has pirates, it has agents, it has these privateers hired as they're hired as extra muscle for the Marines, and and of course there's Marines, and there's the three admirals that are just absolutely powerful, and you got the world government, and you have no idea what the world government has in store. So perhaps the world government is the real villain here, and they're just controlling the Marines and everyone else like puppets. And yeah, I don't know. It's just there's so much going on that it makes you think, and that's what that's why I really love this series. It's not only it's really cool. There's complicating stuff going on, but it's not boring. It's interesting. It draws you in. You want to continue to read this, and it's really long for a reason. And then people accuse it of being too long, but that is a big plus for me because I wanted to keep going. I want to see it all play out, and I wanted to end it in a satisfying way. And I want Luffy to get One Piece, and I want to see what happens when Luffy gets One Piece. And people say, people in that series say, or the characters in that series say, oh, this huge war will break out, and I just can't wait. I can't wait to see it. So this is why I love One Piece, and this is why it's number one on my list. Huge variety, badass fights, great characters, and the design is just great. It's unique. It's not your typical big bug-eyed anime characters, but it's unique, especially with the male characters anyway, and then the females are kind of more towards the bug-eyed design, but they're still kind of unique. So this is why I love One Piece, and this is why it's number one on my list. And I continue to look forward to what One Piece has to offer, and I really want to see Oda, I really want to see how Oda ends this series. And he says right now it's halfway, so I really can't wait to see what the other half has to offer, and I really can't wait to see what Doflamingo can really do against Luffy. So and all that other stuff that's happening too. I really want to see how all that unfolds. And of course, I highly recommend it for you guys to watch it. It is great. It is a reason why One Piece is really popular in Japan. And in fact, I think it's the most popular in Japan, no doubt. And I believe Naruto is just dropping because of the way it's being handled, especially with the final arc and the war and stuff like that, and Bleach, and with their battles and stuff like that. And yeah, I mean, anyways, go read up on One Piece. Go start watching the anime as well for One Piece, and then of course the movies are awesome as well. Go watch those as well if you have the time. All right, that's it for me. So One Piece is my most favorite of all time, and I'm pretty sure some of you saw that coming, because yeah, One Piece is one of the most mainstream, if not the mainstream series in anime and manga history. And I can see you guys, having to predict this and see this coming, because One Piece is one of those mainstream series, and I really can't blame you guys. So, but yeah, I really love One Piece. So, anyways, that's it for me. I hope you like this list, despite being long or whatever. And I just love anime, so I just blabber on about it. So, I'm gonna stop talking. I hope you guys liked the video, so give it a thumbs up, and be sure to subscribe to my channel for more of these videos. And of course, I have video gaming content, so you can watch those as well. But I'll be sure to make more of these in the future, the top 10 lists or top 5 lists, depending on what subject I'm going to cover. So looking forward to making those videos. So I hope to see you guys in the future. So this has been my top 10 anime/manga series. I will see you guys next time. Sean out.